Good afternoon and happy Tuesday. I am Adelis Ferro, Director of Partnerships and Outreach at Latino Victory. And this is our weekly Latino Victory conversation. Today is a very special day because I am based in Florida, and I have here a very special candidate here in Florida. One of those uh, that actually has been bringing a lot of hope and a lot of motivation for us here in Florida, because I know for many of you and for many people in the United States, Florida is a uphill battle, and we have been seen as sometimes even as a lost cause for now. But I have to tell you that people here is tired, is exhausted. uh, Affordability is probably the main issue that Floridians have right now. I have it for sure. And I think this man that you are going to meet today and you're going to know about him today is someone that we are endorsing in Latino Victory. We are supporting, and we are very, very proud to do so. So, thank you so much. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us. And today I am really pleased to be joined by Robin Peguero, who is running for Congress in Florida's 27th district, Maria Elvira Salazar district, here in Miami-Dade County, one of the most diverse districts in the country, and a community where immigrant families, including many Latino families, are a central part of the story of this district. Robin is the son of Latino immigrants, a U.S. Army veteran, a former homicide prosecutor, and has worked to keep communities safe. And he also served as counsel for the January 6th committee in Congress. His background reflects a life of service to the country, to the law, and to the community. Today, this afternoon, we are going to talk about why he's running, what he's hearing from families here in South Florida, especially in Miami and in the 27th district, and about the challenges they face and what kind of leadership he believes this district deserves in Washington. Robin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is our pleasure, and I think it is the perfect time for this conversation, the first of many, hopefully. So let's start with the questions for you, and I want people to know who you are. You are the son of Latino immigrants, a U.S. Army veteran, as I just said, a homicide prosecutor, and you also serve on the January 6th committee in Congress. That's quite a journey for someone as young as you are. What in your story made you decide that now is the moment to step forward and run for Congress in Florida's 27th district?
Yeah, so public service is in my blood, as you mentioned. My parents, my father from the Dominican Republic and my mom from Ecuador, the first thing they did when they got here was enlist in the U.S. Army. They wanted so much to show this country how much they wanted to be a part of it that they were willing to risk their lives for it. And I think that's always what people say. Religious converts are always the most zealous. People who are immigrants to this country, they love this country. They want to be a part of it. And having that be my origin story, knowing my parents did that the moment they got here and that's where they met and they fell in love, both mom and dad, U.S. Army veterans, I knew that I was going to always choose to serve my community. And that's what I've done my whole life, either being a homicide prosecutor here in Miami for 7 years, working on the January 6th committee, and just working in Congress to try to change it, to try to make good change, positive change in our community. But I'm running right now because I'm really ticked off. I'm really upset. I'm upset about the fact that the president of the United States, President Trump, is not respecting the rules of law. He's not respecting the power of the Congress as a co-equal branch, that he's, taking people from my community, deporting them without due process. And most of all, that my Congresswoman Salazar is doing absolutely nothing about it because she cares more about her seat in Congress, her power, rather than integrity and doing what's right. And so I decided, as a kid of immigrants wanting to, become a part of this country, love this country so much, and it gave me so much. I'm the vision of the American dream, having folks that came here not knowing the language with just the clothes on their backs, working really hard afterwards. My father becoming a school teacher in the public school system, and my mom a mail carrier, and being able to raise a son and a daughter, my sister, who were able to go to college, were able to go to law school. Me in particular, I was able to work my way through Harvard College and Harvard Law School, and for me, their son, to be running for U.S. Congress. That is the American dream, and that's what I want for every little kid in this country. Looks like me, sounds like me, has the same last name like me, speaks Spanish in the home like me growing up. I want them to have that opportunity to make it in this country, and it's becoming harder and harder because of all the costs that we're facing. And so I decided I got to get off the couch. I got to defend the people in my community because my congresswoman isn't doing it, and that's why I decided to run.
When did you decide to run, Robin?
Yeah, so I announced July 15th, and it was just, halfway into this administration's crazy policies. And it was just too much. My district, this district, Florida 27, it is ground zero for all of the awful things that are happening in this country. So not only is it 74% Latino, Miami is 50% foreign born. So there are so many Cubans, Venezuelans who are being sent back to repression, to socialism, to communism. And this even Cubans for the first time, feeling that sort of deportation. And I grew up in Hialeah. These are my neighbors and friends and family. To see that is a shame, and to see our congresswoman not even speak up about it, completely silent, while these folks are being sent back. People who with no criminal history and who have paid their taxes and have contributed so much to this country. It's upsetting. And so halfway through the year, seeing the fact that the healthcare crisis is just getting more and more unaffordable, and so many people in this district, the number one leading district in terms of Affordable Care Act enrollees in the country, for Miami to become so unaffordable that people can't even own homes, and they're leaving the state and leaving the city because they just can't afford it. That's awful to me. That's not what I remember Miami being about, and so that's when I decided I gotta do this.
Actually, now that you talk about the immigrants, we know that 27 districts in Florida is more than 70% immigrants, and especially Latino community. It's one of the most diverse districts in the whole country. And a large majority of the community obviously comes from immigrant families. And as yourself, as the son of immigrants, how has that shaped the way you think about representing this district and the priorities you will bring to Congress, especially now that we know, as you said, everything that Congresswoman Salazar actually, I will say, has been doing. I mean, she hasn't done everything, anything. Sorry,
No.
She hasn't done absolutely nothing for her community here in Miami, and I am not exaggerating. There is not even one bill that has passed that effectively benefit the people in her community. And
Yeah.
that's a fact. So having said that, and knowing that immigrants right now are sadly the group that has been uh, haunted,
Yeah.
attacked, uh, 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 with cruelty, with discrimination, with racism, with xenophobia. How will you compare what you are going to do whenever you get to Congress with everything that Maria Elvira is doing
Yeah. Well, we gotta defend
or
members
not
that are
doing?
not doing, right? We gotta defend members in our community. It's sad that at this day and age, when we're facing all those attacks and we're facing xenophobia, racism, all of that, she goes out and she disparages Bad Bunny and the halftime show, right? Because again, for her, it's all about show. Like as you said, she hasn't passed a damn bill in Congress. She has not helped our pocketbooks, not $1. And in fact, she does the exact opposite, right? So she gives tax breaks and tax buyouts to corporations and to billionaires. She does it on the backs of middle class families, many of those Latinos, right, who are working hard, who are paying their taxes so that we can fund more yachts for billionaires with a B in corporations, while the rest of us, all of us, working 2 or 3 jobs, or even people who have it comfortable, who are still having to choose between daycare and schooling for their children and gas and groceries. We're all being squeezed. and she's doing nothing, and she's in fact taking away our healthcare so that we can fund tax giveaways and tax buyouts to corporations. That's the risk. The system is rigged. It's in favor of those special interests, of those powerful people, in favor of people like Epstein, where she refused to release the Epstein files, right, for over a month. Um, Again, because she cares so much about maintaining her seat of power, right? Has a constituency of one, Donald J. Trump. That's her only constituent. None of us here in the district, right? So she's actively not helping us and our pocketbook. And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, to again appease the president and the people she's trying to appease in her party, to say, well, maybe, speaking Spanish is bad in the halftime show, right? Like, where are you? At least for show, right? At least defend us for show, because we know you're not doing anything concrete to help us, right? But no, she talks out of both sides of her mouth. It's not only the fact that she is not doing a darn thing about the economy and affordability, but she is actively doing nothing when it comes to people in our community who are being swept off the streets, ICE who are gunning down people in the streets. I'm a former homicide prosecutor. I've investigated both people who have hurt officers, including on January 6th, and I've investigated officers who have used unreasonable force against civilians, right? Nobody is above the law. From a gang member who I've prosecuted and put in jail to the president of the United States, we all have to obey the law. And this congresswoman, she's not speaking out about any of it. She will say one thing in Washington, do another here in the community, say one thing in Spanish, do another thing say another thing in English, because she's trying to appease everybody, and in the end does absolutely nothing for nobody except for Donald Trump. It's a travesty.
Having said, talking about that, and before my next question for you, I remember talking about the TPS elimination for many communities, especially many communities that are here in South Florida and in this 27 district. Whenever Venezuelans TPS was eliminated by Secretary Noem and Trump administration, and the judge, the federal judge in California, Judge Chen, decided to stay the vacatur that Christy Noem decided in order to eliminate the TPS. He said no. While the process goes on, the TPS is gonna still be uh, valid and reinstated for Venezuelans. And whenever that decision was made, she went immediately to her social media account. I'm talking about Congresswoman Salazar, to congratulate and to say thank you to Christy Noem for reinstating TPS for Venezuelans. Not talking about the decision that was made
Now,
by a federal judge in a
right?
federal court. It was so outrageous that even the lawyers, the consuls of the plaintiffs, of our Venezuelan people, went to social media, went to X, and make comments on her post saying, "You are lying. This is a decision
Yeah.
made by a judge." I mean, this is our congresswoman. This is how, and I know we are living in very crazy times regarding politics in this country, but this cannot be acceptable. This
No.
is something that cannot be acceptable, for Christ's sake. So, what have you heard from the constituents in your future district about what they are worried about? What are the things that keep them awake at night?
Yeah.
Obviously, immigration, for of course, but what what do you hear? What is the reality of those constituents?
Yeah, like, quickly, just to say, that inauthenticity, I think people in the district are picking up on, right? The calling Trump the next Lincoln, saying he'll do for immigration what Lincoln did for slavery. And again, congratulating Secretary Noem when she and the president are the ones who are pushing to send back the Venezuelans to take away their TPS, right? So there's the other thing of, she said she wants every single person who came in during the Biden administration to be deported. That includes Cubans who came in from the Once de Julio, protests. And the Cuban people don't know that. They don't realize that she is absolutely talking out of both sides of her mouth. And she's not here to defend the community. And she is silent as Cubans. And, she's Cuban herself. Cubans are being deported. But also Nicaragüense, Venezolanos, all of us, right? We're under constant threat.
Colombians, everyone, everyone.
Everybody. And I
But
think And that's what's scary. I think that's what people are afraid of, is that this talk from this president, he doesn't just talk about people without papers. He talks about naturalized citizens. He talks about all of us, right? We want people to know, to realize in this community, he doesn't see a difference with any of us. He wants us all back, right? That's Stephen Miller's policy, is to change the culture and character of this nation. And people here in Miami, we're so proud. We're so proud of our language. We're so proud of our culture. We call ourselves Cubans and Venezuelans and Dominicans first, even before Latino, right? We're so proud of being American, as I am too, being born here and my parents having served this country. But we're so proud of our culture. And we know that to be American is both to love this country and to bring our flavor to it and have it be a melting pot. And I think that fear of, wow, none of us are safe. Maybe even people who are naturalized, maybe even people who are American born, right? That's another thing the president talks about. That's really scary. And that they're out there, we might be racially profiled. We might be swept into a van unmarked by masked men with guns, might be shot down in the street, might be sent over to Alligator Alcatraz. This is not the America we recognize. And to have that paired with economic insecurity, that's the height of it all, right? Because we also don't know how we're going to survive and thrive in this economy. The prices are way, way, way too high. Salaries are way, way, way too low. Federal minimum wage hasn't been raised in over a decade. We're all faced on all sides, all these costs. We don't have tax relief for middle class, working class families. We don't have a public option that helps drive down costs for affordable care. And instead, it makes it so that we have this subsidy expired, which the Congresswoman refused to hold a vote for. It's still expired. Right now, we have 93,000 people in our community with no health care. Can you imagine the fear of that? Every day they go to work, they drive in their cars thinking, wow, I'm one catastrophe, one accident, one cancer diagnosis away from bankruptcy, and I just can't afford it. So I'm gonna have to go without health care. And the thing is, they're gonna have to go to that emergency room anyway. And what's gonna happen? We're all gonna pay higher premiums anyway. It just makes sense to let people keep their health care. Preventative care is way, way, way cheaper than having to treat someone after a catastrophic event. We can be smart. We can be smart with the government's money. We can be smart with our taxpayer dollars. We don't need to give tax breaks to billionaires and corporations. We can use our hard-earned taxpayer dollars that we've been putting into the system to really help people. And right now, to go out in the street not knowing how you're going to make it, not how you're going to afford everything, and then whether ICE is going to come and pick up some family member of yours, it's really a horror.
And I think it is important for our audience to know that since the difference of votes in Congress is so small, so tiny, Maria Elvira Salazar and the other two Congress members here in South Florida have power. They have
Yes.
negotiated their votes before for some other things, but they didn't. They decided not to negotiate their vote for the big beautiful bill or for the healthcare cuts or for anything that actually affects their constituents on their inside their own districts. And that's the truth.
That's right. The House is so closely divided. As somebody who's worked in the House over 20 years, over the past 20 years for 7 years, I know how it works. And the majority that the Republicans have is slim. Maria Elvira, as one person, has so much power if she wanted to use it, right? And we saw that with Senator Murkowski from Alaska with the big ugly
Correct.
bill. She said, "Okay, hold on, I want this, this, this for Alaska," and she got it
And she
because
got it.
she
And she
got
got it.
on Maria Elvira, if she's out there saying, "Oh, well, violent criminals, they're the only ones who should be deported, not the waitress or the landscaper or whatever, we should," although she
She
wants to
does.
go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. She doesn't say a word about the Cubans that entered after the protest on
That's right.
July 11. Not even a word about
No.
the I-220, 220A people that
Mhm.
were here with some protection that now have been detained and deported in numbers I don't even know at this point, but the last time I knew a real number of Cubans deported to Mexico, just left there in the middle of nowhere with no papers, no possibility of work, of legalization, not knowing what to do, was more than 300 Cubans. And she hasn't said a word. And we are not talking about criminals.
Right.
We are talking of people that actually fled a dictatorship that
Right.
apparently the Trump administration right now is trying to negotiate with to get some sort of economic
Right.
openness. That's another topic, but
Yes.
that seems that's a deja vu with the Obama administration, but we can talk about that some other time.
Yes.
Yes, having said that, and you just talk about your work in Congress, your background as a homicide prosecutor and congressional investigator is all about accountability. When you look at Washington today, and oh my God, accountability is almost a forbidden word
Yeah.
there as it is right now. What do you think is missing in terms of leadership and standing up for constituents instead of political pressure?
We have to take on corruption. And I think the congresswoman, again, cares only about being elected, has, only corporations who are funding her campaign. Our campaign, we were able to outraise her in our first quarter. We did it with over 2,500 unique donors, whereas she just had a handful of corporations that she still raised less that quarter. And every quarter I've been in the race, she's raised less. Um, and it's because there's no excitement on her side because she doesn't have the power of the people behind her because she has a constituent of one. And so that sort of corruption, like buying into the fact that corporations and billionaires that we could use our taxpayer dollars to give them relief as opposed to helping people who are struggling right now. Her people who here in the district who are struggling is the height of irresponsibility. And for me, as someone who's always chosen public service, I could have gone to go into far more lucrative jobs after having graduated Harvard College and Harvard Law School. That's how you know that I care, that I'm not interested in self-enrichment. I'm not interested in me. I'm interested in just serving my community. After law school, I came back here home to be a homicide prosecutor, making $40,000 a year. And because I cared about it so much. And sometimes folks would ask me, "What are you doing here?" When they would find out where I went to school, and I said, "This is my home. This is where I want to be." And so I want to be a congressman for the people, to make sure that we are fighting against corrupt influences, people like Epstein. I put child predators behind bars. It wouldn't be a tough call for me. Maria Elvira, the day before the Epstein vote, finally some Republicans moved over, not her, and required the vote to happen. She was still saying, "Oh, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote. I have two young daughters, but also the president, doesn't want me. It's a distraction for him." How is that even a choice? You have two young daughters. That's right. We got to be always on the side of the victims and against powerful men who abuse their power and rape children. I couldn't even believe that she would say such a thing. That's the kind of corruption I'm talking about, where you can only see your seat. You can only see money and special interest and not the people. And so that's what we got to get back to doing. That's what I did on the January 6th committee. I'm committed to it. Accountability back, and just get back to representing good, hardworking Americans again.
Many people are going to watch this Substack. I want you to let them know how can they support you, how they can help your campaign, and how they can know more about what you're doing and your social media, how to donate. Please let us know everything.
All right. So go to Peguero for Miami. That's my handle
Hold
on
on,
Inst. Yeah.
spell it.
All right. Peguero. Peguero is P as in Peter. Eguero. And if you want to know how to pronounce it, it's como guerra, Peguero. Okay. Not Peguero. Peguero. And for Miami, .com is the website, pegueroformiami.com, and then every handle is Peguero for Miami, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, what have you. And the thing is this, I'm a kid from Hialeah. I'm not very showy. I've been working really hard the past 20 years in this community, but not calling a lot of attention to myself. I am, as it stands, the only candidate in this race who has public service experience, who is qualified to be congressman on day one. But I didn't come with a bunch of connections or ties to special interests or money. As I said, my folks, they're working class. They raised me working class. I'm still working class, trying to make my best in this economy, just like you guys. And so it's daunting to run for office because so much of it leaves out people like us, immigrants who grew up working class, because you need money. And a lot of people who can self finance, they have a louder voice in this democracy than the rest of us. I want to change that so badly so that when I get in there, we can overturn Citizens United. We can have public financing of campaigns, make Election Day a national holiday so that people working 2 or 3 jobs can actually participate, oppose gerrymandering, all of that. But for now, we got to play the game as Democrats. We got to win and we got to raise money. And I'm so proud to say I've been able to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars Again, not based on connections, just based on people hearing me and hearing my story. And so if you can help me out, we're trying to push hard to get $1 million raised, show the nation that Miami is ready to flip blue. If you could go to Peguero for Miami.com and donate whatever amount you can. Honestly, small dollar donations is the backbone of my campaign. 6,000 people have already donated, or 7,000. No, we're at 6,000. 6,000 people have donated to the campaign already, more than any other candidate. So anything you can give means the world to me. Please, please, please.
I think, you guys, it is important to highlight this again. Robin is the son of two immigrants who became veterans of the United States of America. He himself is a veteran of the United States of America. He's also a lawyer, and right now, his parents are the proud immigrant parents of a first generation American who is fighting for us in this great country against one of the most vulnerable Congress members right now, who is
Just want to say
Dianne
quickly,
Feinstein. Yes.
I'm not a veteran. I served on the January 6th committee, but I haven't served in the military. Just my
I'm
parents.
so sorry. I'm
No
so
worries.
sorry. Uh, son of veterans. Well, someone that have served our country in the January 6th committee, and I know down the road the history books will talk about everything that happened on January 6th of 2021, and I know you will be there because people that actually stood up and work during that time in such a difficult time for our nation. And I say this because I come from a country without democracy. I come from a country that has suffered not one but several coup attempts, and I come from a country with a dictatorship. Right now, Venezuela, you all know what is going on. Sadly, now everyone knows, and that was the beginning of something very, very dark and very dangerous for our democracy, for our freedoms. And you were there protecting and supporting our democracy and our freedom. And that service is something that we also are really, really grateful for. So, what is your final message for all the people that is going to watch this? And when is your next event? Let us know where we can see you, where we can talk to you, or
Yeah,
get some interaction because
for
we
sure.
want to know more about you. And again, he is running against one of the most vulnerable seats in Congress. And we can make, as probably Texas too, and some other races that already we have already won when no one expect that to happen. This going to happen. We are going to make this happen in Florida with your support.
Absolutely. Look, I'm just a regular guy, a humble guy. I really care to be honest and authentic and tell the truth, and that's what matters most. I went to an elderly retired home yesterday. Spoke to Cubans, mostly Republicans. They asked me, "Demócrata," and I said yes. And then but they came, they stayed, they had the pastelitos and the cafe, and by the end, they said, "You know what? I thought all Democrats were socialists. I was scared of Democrats. You are really sencillo, you're, charming." They're like, "I would vote for you." And that's what it's all about. My campaign is talking to everybody. I was a prosecutor who talked before Democrats, Republicans, and independents. I never knew their party affiliation. And I grew up in Hialeah with one of the most conservative Republican cities in the country. I'm used to talking with folks who may not always agree, but we gotta speak to them. We gotta be representatives for them, right? Sometimes the president says, "Oh, I'm not the president for those people because they didn't vote for me." That's not how I see it. And I think Maria Elvira too. She only cares about who can help her get elected. That's not the truth for me. I'm gonna be everywhere. I'm gonna be on Spanish language media. I am already. I'm gonna be in every corner of the district, even the Republican places. I'm gonna go and talk to them and show up because doing the hard work will actually end up getting positive benefits. And we're gonna flip the seat, just as you said, Ade. And if you want to see me, sign up, pegueroformiami.com. I have about like 12, 13 different events for the rest of March. I'll send you the information. I give everybody my cell phones so you can call me directly and become part of this campaign. It's a grassroots supported movement, and we want you on the team.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know you are really super busy, and I think again this is one of the most important opportunities and more realistic opportunities, believe it or not, you guys, that we have to flip one seat in the House. And Maria Elvira Salazar has been working in Congress without doing anything for anyone besides herself and Donald Trump. And we want to change that. And that's the reason we at Latino Victory are supporting Robin Peguero for Congress. And he is an amazing candidate. I am just reading that. And um, we got hope and we're going to save this democracy. But we need you to support our candidates, especially today, Robin Peguero for Congress. Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank
And
you, Alex.
I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
And see you next week, you guys. Thank you. Bye
All
bye.
right. Ciao, everybody.